My brothers and sisters, sometimes we think we need hours upon hours to reconnect with Allah. We imagine long nights, endless pages of Quran, and lengthy du'as. Those are beautiful, yes, but let me remind you today, even 5 minutes of sincere prayer can change the direction of your entire life. Why? Because it is not the length of the prayer that matters, it is the depth of the heart behind it. One tear, one sincere, la Allah, one sajda where your forehead touches the ground with humility can open doors you never imagined. Think about it, 5 minutes. That is less than the time we spend scrolling on our phones, less than the time it takes to boil water for tea. Yet those 5 minutes, if filled with sincerity, can bring solutions to problems you've been carrying for years. Remember, our Rabb is not looking for how long we stand. He is looking for how present our hearts are. Sometimes you might pray 2 rakas with such concentration that you walk away feeling lighter, calmer, stronger, as if Allah Himself placed peace in your chest. Do not let Shaytan deceive you by saying, it's too short, it won't count. Wallahi, every second with Allah counts. Your 5 minutes of real connection may be greater than hours of heedless rituals. And here is the secret. When you taste that sweetness of 5 minutes, it grows. Tomorrow it becomes 10 minutes, then 15. And soon you begin to live with Allah in every moment of your day. So my brothers and sisters, take that time. Tonight, before you sleep, switch off your phone, turn to your prayer mat and just raise your hands. Say, why Allah, you know my struggles, you know my heart, guide me, forgive me, grant me strength. 5 minutes, that's all. And then see how Allah changes everything. Your heart will find peace, your path will find clarity, and your life will gain a new light. 5 minutes. To many of us, it sounds like almost nothing. It passes before we even notice it. We spend 5 minutes waiting at a traffic light, scrolling through our phones, staring blankly at a screen, or simply lost in thought. Yet, when those same 5 minutes are spent with Allah, they carry a weight far greater than we can ever imagine. The value of 5 minutes in the sight of people may be small, but in the sight of Allah, those 5 minutes can be the key to blessings in your life, forgiveness of your sins, and tranquility in your heart. We sometimes underestimate how powerful a small moment of connection with our Creator can be. Think about it. The one who created time does not need long hours from you to prove your devotion. He looks at the sincerity of your heart, not the length of your worship. 1 minute of pure, humble prayer is more beloved to Allah than an hour of standing while the heart is distracted. So, what about 5 minutes of sincere focus? That can become a treasure beyond measure. If you reflect on your day, you will realize how many 5-minute opportunities are scattered throughout it. 5 minutes before a meal, 5 minutes before you sleep, 5 minutes after Fajr when the world is still quiet. These are not wasted intervals, they are golden moments. If we fill them with remembrance of Allah, they can transform the course of our lives. What we think of as small is actually immense in the eyes of Allah, because He multiplies good deeds many times over. The Prophet Muhammad taught us that even a simple smile is charity. Even removing a harmful object from the path is an act of worship. If such small acts hold great value, then surely 5 minutes of turning to Allah with sincerity is worth more than we can calculate. Imagine yourself sitting quietly, raising your hands and saying from the bottom of your heart, "Wa Allah, I need you. Help me, forgive me." Those words might not take more than a few seconds to utter, but they can change the entire direction of your life. There are countless people who will tell you stories of how a short dua made in a moment of desperation or sincerity brought them relief in ways they never expected. It was not the length of the prayer that mattered, it was the sincerity within it. Allah is the Lord of the heavens and the earth. He does not need lengthy speeches. He already knows what is in your heart. When you take even a few minutes to humble yourself and acknowledge your dependence on Him, He responds in ways beyond your imagination. We live in an age where time slips through our fingers. Hours can vanish while we scroll endlessly through videos, read news that does not benefit us, or engage in conversations that lead nowhere. And yet, when the thought of prayer crosses our minds, we often think, I don't have time. Subhanallah, if you can spare hours for distractions, can you not spare 5 minutes for the one who gave you those hours in the first place? The truth is, 5 minutes is not difficult at all. It is a matter of where the heart chooses to turn. The companions of the Prophet, were people who understood the value of every moment. They would seize even the smallest chance to remember Allah. For them, no moment was too short to glorify their Creator. They recognized that even a brief turning to Allah was a shield, a light, a blessing. And here we are with all the reminders and comforts Allah has blessed us with, yet we hesitate to give even 5 minutes. Think of 5 minutes as an investment. When you invest money, even a small amount, it grows with time. With Allah, the return is far greater. You give Him 5 minutes, and He fills your heart with calmness that can last hours. You call upon Him for 5 minutes, and He opens doors for you that were closed for years. You bow to Him for 5 minutes, and He erases sins that would have taken you down. This is how generous Allah is. So never underestimate the value of a short prayer. Never tell yourself that it is too little to matter. In fact, those 5 minutes could be the most valuable part of your day. When you meet Allah on the day of judgment, it might be that those short moments you spent in sincerity are what tip the scales in your favor. You may forget the time you raised your hands and asked Him for guidance, but Allah never forgets. He records it, He responds to it, and He rewards it. 5 minutes with Allah is not just about words or movements. It is about the heart finding a home. It is about the soul recognizing its master. It is about reminding yourself that you are never alone, that no problem is too heavy and no sin is too great for the mercy of Allah. If you carry this mindset, then 5 minutes will never feel small again. When it comes to prayer and worship, many of us fall into the trap of measuring value by length. We think the longer we pray, the more meaningful it must be. While long prayers filled with sincerity are indeed beautiful, what Allah values most is not the length, but the consistency and the quality of what we do. A short act of worship, if repeated regularly, is far more beloved to Allah than a lengthy act that is done once and then abandoned. The human heart works best when it is reminded often. If you only remember Allah once in a long while, it is like pouring water on a dry plant only once every few months. No matter how much water you pour in that moment, the plant will not survive without regular care. But if you give the plant a small amount of water every day, it flourishes. The same is true for your relationship with Allah. A few minutes every day done with sincerity are more powerful than hours of worship once in a while. Consistency keeps the heart alive. It keeps faith nourished, and it ensures that your connection with Allah never fades. This is why the Prophet Muhammad emphasized that the most beloved deeds to Allah are those that are done regularly, even if they are small. Think about that. Allah, the Lord of the heavens and the earth, who is worthy of endless worship, loves even the smallest acts when they are consistent. Why? Because consistency shows sincerity. It shows that you are not turning to Him only when you feel like it or when life gets difficult, but that you have made Him part of your daily routine. That daily commitment, no matter how short, is a sign of true devotion. Imagine someone who stands for hours in prayer one night, but then leaves prayer completely for weeks. Compare that to another person who prays 2 rakahs every day without fail, even if they are short. Who is more consistent? Who shows steadiness in their connection with Allah? The one who is regular, even in small amounts. The heart grows stronger with regular worship, just like muscles grow with regular exercise. If you go to the gym once in 6 months and spend the whole day there, it will not make you healthy. But if you exercise for a short time every day, the results will transform you. In the same way, your spiritual health requires steady, consistent effort. We often forget that Allah does not measure us by how much time we spend, but by how sincerely we worship Him in whatever time we do have. Some of the greatest worshippers were those who would seize even the smallest moments and make them consistent. They would use the quiet of the early morning, the calm before sleep, or the pauses between tasks to remember Allah. They may not have had hours of free time, but they made sure their hearts never drifted too far away from Him. The danger of focusing only on length is that it becomes unsustainable. You push yourself for a long period once, and then you feel tired and stop altogether. But when you train yourself to be consistent, even in small doses, it becomes a natural part of who you are. You begin to miss it when you skip it. Your 5 minutes of prayer, your short remembrance, your brief recitation of Quran, they all weave into the fabric of your daily life until they become second nature. That is when faith becomes strong. Think of how people build relationships with each other. A friend who checks on you every day, even with a short message, builds a stronger bond than someone who calls once a year for a long conversation. Regular presence shows care. Likewise, when you turn to Allah regularly, you show that your relationship with Him is not occasional or seasonal, but continuous. You are telling your Lord, "Way Allah, I may not have much, but I will never forget you." That is sincerity, and that is what He loves most. Shaytan often whispers to us, making us feel that our small efforts are worthless. He tells us that if our prayer is short, it does not count. If our dua is brief, it is not important. This is a deception. Every moment spent with Allah counts. Every breath taken in His remembrance is valuable. Never belittle your small acts of worship, for they might be the very deeds that Allah accepts and multiplies for you until they outweigh your sins. There is also wisdom in starting small. When you begin with short, consistent prayers, you build a foundation. From there, Allah opens your heart to increase. Today you might start with 5 minutes of sincere worship, and tomorrow your heart may long for more. But if you never begin, because you keep waiting for the perfect long session, you may never start at all. Consistency paves the way for growth. It allows you to build slowly but steadily without burning out or giving up. Consistency also brings stability to your heart in times of trial. When difficulties come, the person who has been consistent in prayer, even if short, already has the habit of turning to Allah. They do not panic because their connection with Allah has been alive all along. But the person who only prays occasionally may find it hard to reconnect when hardship strikes. Regular prayer, no matter how short, is like keeping your spiritual lifeline strong and unbroken. So, it is not the length of your worship that defines your devotion, but how consistent you are in maintaining it. Those 5 minutes repeated every day become a light that guides you through life. They build resilience, peace, and closeness to Allah. Never let anyone, not even your own thoughts, convince you that your small, steady prayers are insignificant. In the sight of Allah, they may be greater than you could ever imagine. Life is full of moments that seem ordinary to us, but in reality, they have the power to change everything. Sometimes it is not in the long stretches of worship or the countless hours of routine that transformation happens. Often, it is in a single moment, a brief, sincere prayer, a tear shed in solitude, a heartfelt whisper to Allah, that a person's entire life takes a new direction. These turning points are not measured in minutes or hours. They are measured in sincerity, in the state of the heart, in how much you truly mean what you say to Allah. Imagine a person carrying the weight of sorrow for years. They have tried every solution, sought every remedy, spoken to everyone they could, but nothing seems to bring them relief. Then one night, in the quiet of their room, they fall into sajda and pour out their heart to Allah. For just a few minutes, they weep, they confess, they beg for help. That short prayer, perhaps lasting less than 5 minutes, can be the turning point that lifts their burden, opens a new chapter, and fills their life with peace they had long forgotten. That is the power of a moment with Allah. Sometimes a person makes dua while walking, driving, or waiting in line. Outwardly, it looks like nothing special, just a few words whispered under the breath. But if the heart is present, if the need is real and the trust in Allah is complete, that dua may change their future. Perhaps they prayed for guidance and Allah guided them to opportunities they never saw coming. Perhaps they prayed for forgiveness and Allah wiped away years of sins. Perhaps they prayed for strength and Allah gave them patience they did not think they had. These moments are small in time, but massive in impact. The reality is that Allah does not need long speeches from us. He already knows what is in our hearts. What He loves is when we turn to Him sincerely, even if just for a moment. He loves when we drop the pretenses, strip away the distractions, and say, "Ya Allah, I need you." That cry, even if it takes seconds, can reach the heavens. That plea can shift the course of your destiny because Allah responds to those who call upon Him sincerely. We sometimes think that change requires massive effort, but often it begins with a single turning point moment. A sinner may live years in heedlessness, and then one day they hear a verse of the Quran, a reminder, or a word that pierces their heart. They stop, reflect, and in that instant they turn back to Allah. That one moment becomes the start of a journey of faith. It was not long lectures or endless hours of worship that triggered it, but one sincere moment of realization and prayer. The companions of the Prophet, I had many such moments. Omar ibn al-Khattab, known for his strength and firmness, was once a staunch opponent of Islam. But in a single moment of reflection, when he heard the Quran, his heart softened and he turned to Allah. That moment changed him forever and changed the course of history. What does this teach us? That never should we underestimate the power of a single moment when the heart connects with Allah. All of us are given opportunities for turning point moments. It could be during a hardship when we feel we have no one else to turn to. It could be during ease when we suddenly realize that everything we enjoy is from Allah. It could be in a random quiet moment when the thought of Allah crosses our heart so strongly that we feel compelled to pause and pray. These opportunities come, but it is up to us to recognize them and seize them. Shaytan, of course, tries to distract us from such moments. He makes us think that if it is short, it cannot be meaningful. He tells us to wait until we have more time, more energy, or the perfect setting to pray. But the truth is that the most powerful prayers are often spontaneous, raw, and unplanned. They come from a place of desperation, love, or longing, and Allah responds to them with His mercy, regardless of how short they may be. Think of how many lives have been transformed by such moments. People who felt lost but found guidance in a single sajda. People who carried guilt but found forgiveness in a single tear. People who felt weak but found strength in a single plea. These are the turning points that Allah gifts to His servants. They remind us that He is always near, always listening, always ready to change our circumstances if we turn to Him sincerely. Your turning point moment may be closer than you think. It might not require hours of preparation. It might not look grand to anyone else. But to Allah, it could be the moment that defines your future. So never underestimate the power of a short, sincere prayer. Never delay reaching out to Allah because you think you need more time. 5 minutes or even less may be all it takes for your heart to change, for your sins to be forgiven, and for your life to find a new light. One of the greatest gifts that Islam gives us is the ability to connect directly with Allah. No barriers, no intermediaries, no waiting in line, and no appointments. The creator of the heavens and the earth, the one who controls everything in existence, has given you direct access to Him at any time, in any place, in any language, and in any condition. This is something so powerful that if we truly appreciated it, we would never feel lonely, helpless, or abandoned again. Think about how difficult it is to reach people of authority in this world. If you want to meet a leader, you need to schedule an appointment, go through secretaries, security, and long waiting periods. Even then, you may not be accepted. But with Allah, there is no protocol like that. He says in the Quran, "And when my servants ask you concerning me, indeed I am near. I respond to the invocation of the supplicant when he calls upon me." Allah is telling us directly that He is near and that He responds. That means when you raise your hands in dua, when you whisper to Him in the depths of the night, or even when you call upon Him silently in your heart, He hears you immediately and fully. There is such comfort in knowing that you do not need anyone to pass your message to Allah. You do not need a scholar, an imam, or a saint to deliver your words. You yourself are honored enough to speak directly to your Creator. This shows how much Allah loves His servants and how much dignity He has given you. The door is open for you all the time, and the only condition is sincerity. No one can block your prayer, and no one can intercept your voice when you call upon Him. Sometimes people feel small or insignificant, as though their problems are too minor for Allah to care about. They think, how can I bother Allah with this when there are people suffering so much worse than me? But Allah is not like His creation. He is not burdened by your requests. In fact, He loves when you ask Him, and He becomes angry when you don't ask Him. Unlike people who get tired of hearing your complaints, Allah never tires of listening. You can repeat the same dua every day for years, and His mercy never runs out. Your direct connection with Him is unlimited. This connection also means that no matter where you are never cut off from Allah. You do not need a specific building, a specific time, or a specific ritual to make dua. Yes, Salah has its times, and there are blessed moments for prayer, but your access to Allah is open every second. You can be driving your car and call upon Him. You can be lying in bed and speak to Him. You can be in the middle of a crowded place, and in your heart, you can connect with Him without a single word passing your lips. That is the power of this direct relationship. This direct access to Allah should give you a deep sense of peace. People may misunderstand you, but Allah never does. People may judge you by what they see, but Allah knows what is in your heart. People may turn away from you when you are struggling, but Allah says He is closer to you than your jugular vein. When you truly feel this, your burdens become lighter because you know that the one who has the power to change everything is always within your reach. In moments of desperation, it is this connection that saves you. When you are overwhelmed and you raise your hands even for a few minutes, Allah responds in ways you may not even see immediately. Sometimes He gives you exactly what you asked for. Sometimes He gives you better. Sometimes He delays the response because He knows the perfect time. And sometimes He protects you from what you asked because He knows it would harm you. But in every case, your dua is heard, recorded, and rewarded. Not a single word is lost. Many people seek comfort by turning to other people, thinking that someone else will solve their problems. But every human being has limits. They may want to help but cannot. They may have resources but no ability. They may have ability but no willingness. Allah, however, has no such limits. He has power over everything. He has knowledge of everything. And He has mercy that encompasses everything. When you place your trust in Him through this direct connection, you find a strength that no human support can give you. This connection is also a reminder of your worth. The fact that Allah invites you to speak to Him directly shows how much He values you as His servant. If He did not care, He would not tell you that He is near. If He did not want to hear you, He would not ask you to call upon Him. Every time you make dua, you are fulfilling His command and stepping into a direct conversation with the King of Kings. This should fill your heart with gratitude and awe. So never let yourself feel distant from Allah. The distance is never from His side. It is only when we turn away that we feel disconnected. But the moment you turn back, the connection is instantly restored. One sincere call, one heartfelt plea, and you are directly with Him again. No one can take this privilege away from you. It is yours as long as you live, and it is one of the greatest blessings you have been given. When we think of prayer, we often focus on the words we say. We worry about the length of our supplication, the eloquence of our speech, or whether we remember all the right phrases. But in truth, Allah does not look at the tongue before He looks at the heart. What makes a prayer powerful is not the number of words you use, but the sincerity with which they come from within. A dua that is only a few words long but flows directly from a humbled heart can be more valuable than pages of recitation said without feeling. There are people who might not have the ability to express themselves with beautiful language. They may not know many supplications in Arabic. They may feel inadequate compared to those who can recite long duas with ease. But Allah is not impressed by poetry or by vocabulary. He is moved by sincerity. Even if all you say is, "La Allah, help me." If it comes from the depths of your heart, it can shake the heavens. Allah does not need decoration in your words. He wants truthfulness in your intention. This is why a tear shed in prayer, even without words, is a form of dua. Sometimes the heart is so overwhelmed that it cannot articulate anything, and all that escapes are tears. Those tears are seen by Allah, and He responds to them with His mercy. Your silence, if it is filled with longing for Him, is a prayer. Your sigh, if it is filled with trust in Him, is a prayer. The heart speaks in ways the tongue cannot, and Allah understands every language of the heart. We should also remember that Allah is the knower of the unseen. He already knows what is in your heart before you say it. He knows your struggles, your desires, your fears, and your secrets. The dua is not to inform him of what he does not know. He knows better than you what you need. The dua is to humble yourself, to admit your weakness, to acknowledge that you depend on him. This act of turning to him with your heart open is what brings you close to him. The words are only a vessel. The heart is the true essence. Think of how we communicate with those we love. Sometimes the most powerful messages are not in the words, but in the tone, the emotion, the sincerity. You can say, I love you, 1,000 times without feeling, and it means nothing. But when you say it once with genuine emotion, it reaches the other person deeply. The same principle applies to prayer. You can repeat long du'as without focus, and they may not carry weight. But one short plea said with full concentration and sincerity may reach Allah in a way that endless recitations do not. This is why the Prophet Muhammad reminded us that Allah does not look at our appearances or our wealth, but He looks at our hearts and our deeds. The heart is the center of it all. When the heart is pure and sincere, even small acts of worship become great. When the heart is distracted or insincere, even large acts lose their value. In prayer, this means that your focus should not be on impressing yourself or others with your words, but on bringing your heart alive with humility before Allah. The danger is that many of us become distracted in prayer. Our tongues move, but our hearts wander. We say words without thinking of their meaning. We repeat du'as we memorized long ago, but do not stop to reflect on what they truly mean. This is why prayer sometimes feels empty. It is not that Allah does not listen, it is that we have not truly spoken to Him with our hearts. To change this, we must remind ourselves to slow down, to feel what we are saying, and to remember that we are standing before our Creator. There are stories of ordinary people who made the simplest du'as and saw extraordinary responses. A mother raising her hands and simply saying, Ya Allah, guide my children, may be more powerful than someone reciting dozens of memorized supplications without focus. A worker struggling to make ends meet, whispering, Ya Razak, provide for me, with tears in his eyes, may have his dua answered more swiftly than someone spending an hour in eloquent speech, but with little sincerity. The heart makes the difference. This understanding should free us from the burden of comparison. Do not compare your du'as to others. Do not think you need to have the same words, the same fluency, or the same length as others to be heard by Allah. What you need is honesty, humility, and trust. Say what is in your heart, even if it is broken, even if it is simple. Allah is listening. He understands. He responds. When you put the heart before the words, your prayers transform. They no longer feel like rituals to be ticked off a list. They feel like conversations with the one who loves you the most. You begin to feel lighter when you finish because you know you truly connected with Allah. You know that what left your heart reached Him, even if your tongue stumbled. This is the essence of worship, that your heart bows before Allah before your body does, that your heart speaks before your tongue does, and that your heart finds peace in remembering Him. In our journey of faith, we sometimes underestimate the value of small actions. We think that only grand gestures of worship, long hours of prayer, or extraordinary sacrifices are what truly count. But Allah, in His infinite mercy, has designed our religion in such a way that even the smallest steps we take towards Him can earn immense rewards. He multiplies every good deed far beyond its size. What looks small in our eyes may be enormous in His sight. Every act of worship begins with a step, and Allah has promised that whoever comes to Him with a handspan, He comes to them with an arm's length. Whoever comes to Him walking, He comes to them running. This is not about physical distance, it is about the effort you make and the response Allah gives. Even a single step towards Him is honored and magnified. That is why you should never belittle any small act you do sincerely for His sake. Think about the simple acts we sometimes overlook. Saying Subhanallah, Alhamdulillah, or Allahu Akbar takes only a second. But the Prophet taught us that these words fill the scales on the day of judgment. Smiling at your brother or sister in faith is a charity. Giving even half a date in charity can protect you from the fire. These are not huge tasks that require wealth or hours of time. They are small, accessible steps, yet their reward is massive. This principle is a mercy from Allah because He knows our nature. Human beings are forgetful, easily distracted, and often overwhelmed by the demands of life. If the only way to earn His pleasure was through enormous acts, most of us would fail. But Allah has opened the doors of reward through small, consistent deeds that anyone can do. Every prayer you make, every verse of Quran you recite, every moment you lower your gaze, every step you take towards the masjid, all of it is recorded and rewarded. Nothing is wasted. Sometimes a person may feel too weak to do large acts of worship. They may not be able to pray for long hours, fast every other day, or give away large sums of money. But they can still do small deeds. They can still pray their 5 daily prayers with sincerity, even if short. They can still make a dua in their own words. They can still show kindness to others. And through these small steps, Allah raises them in rank and grants them rewards they never imagined. There are many examples of people whose small deeds became the reason for their forgiveness. A man who removed a thorny branch from the road was rewarded with paradise. A woman who gave water to a thirsty dog was forgiven her sins. These are not deeds that required great effort or years of striving. They were small, simple acts, but they were done with sincerity, and Allah, in His mercy, magnified them until they outweighed the person's sins. This should give us hope. None of us are perfect. We all fall short, we all commit sins, and we all have moments of weakness. But Allah does not expect perfection from us. He expects effort, no matter how small. He loves to see us turning back to Him again and again, even with the tiniest steps. The doors of mercy are open for anyone willing to make an effort, and even if that effort looks insignificant to others, with Allah it can be great. It is also important to remember that small deeds accumulate. Just as drops of water fill a bucket, your small acts of worship fill your book of deeds. A few minutes of prayer every day, a little charity here and there, a short recitation of Quran before sleeping. Over the years, these acts pile up into mountains of good deeds. When you meet Allah, you may be surprised to see how much weight those small steps carried on the scale. This is why consistency matters. A person who does small deeds every day builds a habit that lasts, and Allah loves deeds that are regular, even if they are few. It is better to pray 2 rakas every night consistently than to pray for hours once and then abandon it. It is better to recite a few verses of Quran daily than to read an entire juz once in a while and then stop. Small steps, when consistent, become a lifelong journey of growth. And beyond the rewards, small steps bring barakah into your life. When you remember Allah for even a few minutes, He fills your heart with peace. When you give even a small amount in charity, He blesses your wealth. When you smile, greet, or help someone in need, He puts joy into your heart. The benefits of small deeds are not just in the hereafter, they transform your life here as well. So never underestimate the power of the small. Never think that because your worship is not long or your charity is not large, it is worthless. Allah sees every effort and He multiplies it beyond what you can imagine. Your small step towards Him today could be the reason for your success in both worlds tomorrow. One of the greatest obstacles in our journey of faith is the constant whispering of Shaytan. He knows he cannot stop you from turning to Allah completely. So instead, he tries to weaken your connection little by little. One of his most dangerous tricks is to make you belittle your small acts of worship. He whispers to you, what is 5 minutes of prayer going to do? What is a short dua going to change? What is the value of this tiny good deed when you have so many sins? And many times we listen to these whispers and give up before even trying. Shaytan has a way of magnifying your shortcomings and minimizing your efforts. He makes you feel that unless you pray for hours, your Salah does not count. Unless you memorize entire surahs, your recitation is not worth it. Unless you donate thousands, your charity is meaningless. He tricks you into believing that small steps towards Allah are not enough. But the reality is the complete opposite. Allah has promised to multiply even the smallest deed while Shaytan wants to make you feel that your deeds have no weight at all. This deception is very subtle. Shaytan does not come to you openly and say, stop praying. Instead, he says, don't pray now, wait until you have more time. He does not say, never make dua. He whispers, what's the point of making dua for only a minute? Save it for later. Slowly, he pushes you into delaying, and then delaying turns into abandoning. This is how many people lose out on acts of worship, not because they rejected them outright, but because Shaytan convinced them that short, sincere efforts were not good enough. We must recognize this trick for what it is. The truth is that Allah values every moment you turn to Him. 5 minutes of prayer with sincerity is better than hours of heedless prayer. A single astaghfirullah said with regret can erase mountains of sin. A smile, a greeting, or a helping hand given for Allah's sake can be enough to tip the scales on the day of judgment. Shaytan does not want you to realize this because he knows that if you understood the power of small acts, you would never stop. It is also part of Shaytan's plan to make you despair. He wants you to look at your sins and think, I am too far gone. What difference will one prayer make? He wants you to believe that you are beyond Allah's mercy so that you stop trying. But Allah has promised that He forgives all sins for those who turn to Him. Even if you spent your whole life sinning, one moment of sincere repentance can wipe it away. This is why Shaytan tries so hard to make you give up on small opportunities to return to Allah, because he knows those small moments could save you. Another trick of Shaytan is comparison. He makes you look at others and think your efforts are worthless. You see someone praying long voluntary prayers and you feel ashamed of your 2 rakas. You see someone reciting Quran for hours and you feel embarrassed about your few verses. Instead of being inspired, you feel defeated. Shaytan whispers, you'll never reach their level, so why even try? But what he hides from you is that Allah does not compare you to others. He looks at your sincerity, your circumstances, and your effort. Your small step done with a pure heart may be more valuable than someone else's big step. Shaytan also distracts you by making worldly activities seem urgent while making worship seem like it can wait. He convinces you that you always have time for social media, for entertainment, for conversations, but never for prayer. And when you do manage to spare a few minutes, he tries to make you feel guilty that it is not enough. If you listen to him, you fall into a cycle where you are never satisfied with your worship and eventually you abandon it altogether. The way to fight back is to remind yourself that Allah is not looking for perfection, but effort. Even a short, imperfect prayer is better than none. When you understand Shaitan's tricks, you can expose them and protect yourself. Every time you feel the whisper that your deed is too small, remind yourself of the hadith that the most beloved deeds to Allah are the consistent ones, even if they are few. Every time you feel like your prayer is too short, remember that Allah looks at your heart, not the clock. Every time you think your dua is too simple, remember that Allah knows what you need, even if your words are few. When Shaitan tries to pull you away with doubt, respond with certainty that Allah values every sincere effort. The key is to never let Shaitan make you delay or belittle your worship. If all you have is 5 minutes, then give those 5 minutes sincerely. If all you can say is, "Why Allah, forgive me," then say it with your whole heart. If all you can give is a smile or a kind word, then give it for His sake. These small acts, despised by Shaitan, are loved by Allah and may be the very reason you are saved. One of the most beautiful things about prayer is that its effect does not end when you leave the prayer mat. A few minutes spent sincerely with Allah can transform the way you live the rest of your day. Those moments of connection bring peace to the heart, clarity to the mind, and strength to the soul. When you make even a short prayer a part of your routine, it changes how you view your problems, how you interact with people, and how you carry yourself through life. Prayer is not only about asking Allah for what you need, it is also about reminding yourself who you are and who your Lord is. When you bow down in Salah or raise your hands in dua, you acknowledge your weakness and Allah's power. You remind yourself that you are not in control of everything and that true control belongs only to Him. This perspective lifts a huge weight from your shoulders because you no longer feel the need to carry the entire burden of life alone. That realization alone transforms the way you handle stress. Many people wake up every morning already overwhelmed by their responsibilities. The deadlines, the bills, the expectations of family, the challenges at work or school, all of it weighs heavily. But when you take a few minutes before starting your day to pray and ask Allah for help, you step into the world with a lighter heart. You know that you have asked the one who can make things easier, and you trust that He will guide you through. Suddenly the same tasks that once felt unbearable feel manageable because you know you are not facing them alone. Prayer also transforms your interactions with people. When you spend time with Allah, you become more patient, more forgiving, and more compassionate. A heart that has just humbled itself before its Creator finds it harder to be arrogant with others. A soul that has just begged Allah for forgiveness is more willing to forgive. This inner change reflects in your words, your tone, and your behavior. People may not know why you are calmer or kinder, but they will feel the difference. This is how prayer does not only benefit you, but also those around you. Another way prayer transforms daily life is by providing clarity. We live in a time of constant noise, endless notifications, overwhelming choices, and conflicting advice. It is easy to feel confused and unsure of which direction to take. But when you take a few minutes to pray, Allah gives you clarity. Even if you do not find all the answers immediately, you find peace in your heart to move forward. You find confidence in your decisions because you know you consulted the one who knows everything. This clarity saves you from the paralysis of overthinking and the anxiety of uncertainty. Prayer also protects you in ways you cannot see. A dua you make in the morning may shield you from harm that afternoon. A sincere request for guidance may prevent you from making a mistake. A short plea for ease may open doors you did not expect. These are the unseen effects of prayer. You may not always notice them, but they shape your life in countless ways. When you look back, you realize that many of the blessings and protections you enjoyed were answers to prayers you may have forgotten you even made. Over time, making prayer a regular part of your life creates a rhythm of remembrance. You begin to measure your day, not just by your work or tasks, but by your moments with Allah. You look forward to those pauses because you know they recharge you. Just as your body cannot go through the day without food and water, your soul cannot go through the day without prayer. Even 5 minutes can be enough to nourish your heart, giving you the strength to face whatever comes next. The transformation also lies in perspective. Prayer teaches you to see life differently. When you pray, you remember that this world is temporary and that your real home is the hereafter. This shift in mindset helps you deal with disappointments and setbacks. You stop seeing failures as the end of the world and start seeing them as tests. You stop clinging desperately to worldly gains and start focusing on what truly lasts. This makes you more resilient, more hopeful, and more balanced. Sometimes we think transformation requires big, dramatic changes, moving to a new place, changing careers, or reinventing ourselves completely. But often, real transformation begins quietly with something as simple as a consistent 5-minute prayer. Those small moments of sincerity shape your character, influence your decisions, and build your resilience. With time, people around you notice that you have more peace, more strength, and more wisdom. They may not know the source, but you know it comes from your connection with Allah. A single prayer can also spark long-term changes. You may start with 5 minutes at night, and soon you find yourself adding more. You may begin with short duas during hardship, and soon you are remembering Allah in times of ease. Slowly, prayer becomes a natural part of your daily life, and its impact grows. What began as a small effort becomes a habit that shapes your identity. You become someone who lives with Allah in mind, and that transformation is the most powerful change any human being can experience. So the next time you wonder what difference a short prayer can make, remember that its effect goes far beyond those few minutes. It can calm your heart, guide your steps, protect you from harm, and shape your character. It can bring barakah into your time, your relationships, and your efforts. And most importantly, it keeps you connected to Allah the source of all peace and success. That connection alone is enough to transform your entire life. Never underestimate the power of a few minutes spent with Allah. We began by realizing that even a short prayer can open the doors of mercy. We reflected on the weight of sincerity, the sweetness of consistency, the shield against despair, and the peace that comes from connecting with our Creator. We saw how small steps bring big rewards, how Shaytan tries to belittle our efforts, and how prayer can transform our daily lives in ways we cannot imagine. At the heart of it all is this simple truth: what matters most is not the length of your prayer, but the depth of your heart in it. A few minutes can change everything if they are filled with sincerity, humility, and trust in Allah. Do not wait for tomorrow. Do not let Shaytan convince you that your effort is too little. Begin now with whatever you can and let Allah multiply it for you. Those 5 minutes could be the light that guides you, the shield that protects you, the key that opens doors of blessing, and the reason for your forgiveness. And when you stand before Allah one day, you may find that what seemed so small in this world was in reality the greatest treasure you carried with you. So give yourself those minutes. Disconnect from the noise, bow your head, and call upon the one who always listens. Your life may not change in a single day, but your heart will begin to change in that single prayer. And when the heart changes, everything else follows. May Allah make us among those who find His mercy in every moment, even the smallest ones. And may He allow us to taste the sweetness of turning to Him, even if it's just for 5 minutes. Ameen.